members, we have a quorum. And let us go back to Ms. Sitho's motion moved in accordance with 37A. I've talked to the legal advisor. We've looked at it. Today, in the course of our discussion, I was lenient. We have been asking about the plot ratio. But for paragraph 37A, you talked about not using the plot ratio to its best, and you said that it should be built as speedily as possible. So behind it, I think, is the big issue of policy. So I don't think it's directly related to paragraph 37A of the FC procedures. I think the government officials understand this. That is, now we are saying that they haven't made the best use of the plot ratio. So that's why the waiting time is so long. So is this the SWD's problem? Because there are so many people waiting in the line and they haven't made the request of providing more places. So they are just asking for the same number of places as in the old childcare center. So I think in the future, at the relevant panels, these can be followed up. And the secretary also said that he would do that.
Sitho, yeah, I wouldn't argue with your judgment, and you have consulted legal advice already. But I would say that my feel is, I think the motion regarding 37A has been actually, the procedure involved has been tightened further and further. I think, of course, we need to accommodate the increasingly tightening atmosphere. I agree. I mean, we have expressed our views, and I hope that officials, especially the social welfare department, can understand that you are here to serve the underprivileged. Nobody speak for them. Today, many members in LegCos spoke out for them, but indeed, services for the underprivileged actually receive, opposition in district councils. So officials have the responsibility to watch out for services for them, and don't just pay attention to what residents in the district think, because residents do not know the entire needs of the society. Well, you said that we are tightening the procedures, but I don't agree. In the past 2 months, when it comes to 37A, whether the legal advisor or the secretary and I, we've been pretty lenient. And I believe that if you have time, if you actually have time to write down your motion under 37A, I will give you the chance to do it. I hope you understand that. Okay, members, any other members who want to speak? If not, then I will put this motion to a vote. This item to a vote. Those in favor? Well, I haven't seen any hands. Okay, I'll let go home. Okay, second round, 3 minutes. Chairman, I think we are in a dilemma. I heard from officials that, well, officials told me they might want to lobby me or what. They explained to me that it will take them another year. If we were to maximize the plot ratio, it's impossible, because that would obstruct the view of or the ventilation, not to mention the view, but air ventilation of buildings in Patina State. Okay, if we can't maximize the use of plot ratio, how about 1.45? Now it's 1.5. If it's 1 to 4.5, then it will mean an area of 22,000 square feet in size. Then it's so precious in Hong Kong. If we want to trade 1 year for a floor area of 1 500 square feet. So I do have doubts. Why should we approve this today? Let me ask again. Do you feel that changing the plot ratio to 3 from 3 to 4.5 is that impossible? If it's possible, then if we trade 1 year for it, do you think, like the social welfare department, do you think is doable? I think you must answer this. I think please answer for 2 questions. One, is it possible to change to 4.5? And if we were to change the plot ratio now, and how long it will take? He suggested it will take 1 year, but I haven't heard you say that you can have the center built a year later. Can you answer these 2 questions? Thank you. I want to say that for the existing plot ratio for the design of the integrated complex, we have to look at the overall design of the building, including its height, the height of its surrounding buildings, as the chief architect explained. Even though it has 5 stories now, next to it, in the existing parking estate, the buildings with residents now actually are much higher, more than half the height of this complex. And we need to be concerned about, the impact of worsened air ventilation on the residents. Well, they ask you, if you raise the plot ratio to 4.5, is that okay? Can you answer us? Is it possible or not? Is it doable? But you still haven't answered that question. I think statistically speaking, what is allowed for is 9. 4.5, of course, is not impossible. If we change the plot ratio to 4.5 and then redesign the complex and we submit a new proposal, will that take 1 year? Is 1 year enough? I think that's the minimum time needed, because we need to go back and reconsult these people involved. If we get the support, then we can reapply for the funding, go through the same procedures again. I think the whole process will take at least 1 year. Okay, Leung Kwok-hong, follow-up question. I'm an outsider to this. You're worried about the impact on air ventilation. But if you dig deeper underground, is that okay? Can we dig deeper underground at the site? Okay. Well, you've used up your time. Okay, if they don't build floors on top of the building, can you build a basement floors? If we dig underground, it will cost even more money. And if you dig underground in the basement, the users may not be, have access. They may not have access to proper air ventilation and light. Okay, members, any other questions? Leung Kwok-hong, I couldn't hear you. If you want to ask again, please ring the bell. I didn't really know where you want to ask a question now. Okay, Leung Kwok-hong, 2 minutes. Well, haven't heard from the official. I've got the following ideas. I think you are saying that it will take at least 1 year to redesign with a plot ratio of 4.5. That is and you have to reapply for the funding, and the whole process will take at least 1 year. Okay, I've got that. And secondly, you said that it's not possible to dig underground because the users need access to light and proper air ventilation. Okay, I'm trying to be fair here. I think 39. I'll use 39 to adjourn debate on this item. Please resubmit this paper to us next week. I just wanted to know whether you think it's doable or not. And we're trading 1 year. Okay, since you proposed Rule 39, Okay, so let me address that first. According to Rule 39 of the Procedures of the Finance Committee, you are asking for an adjournment of the debate on this item. PW FCR 2014-1538. According to the Rule 39 of the Procedures, members could speak on this motion but not speak for more than once. I suggest that each member can use not more than 3 minutes when they speak. Leung Kwok-hong, okay. Why do I want to exercise the right under the rule? Because people used to say that we like to filibuster. I admit that we did filibuster, but I'm not doing that now. Certainly, we're not filibustering today. Because if there's a doubt that remains there, then you need to address that. Tell us, okay, what are your difficulties? You said that you need to go back to district council to get the support and they may not agree with a new proposal. And you also said you think that if you dig underground then it's not possible, it's not feasible. And thirdly, if we change the plot ratio to 4.5, you feel that technically speaking is difficult. And also there's the point that raising the height could block housing estates impacting the state because the complex is already of half the height of the buildings there. So next time please be more precise then and do more precise estimates. I understand why the Shim Shui Po District Council would not, for the sake of residents impacting estates or in other areas in Shim Shui Po, allow for more services created by an increased plot ratio. Honestly, next time when you come again, you can try to convince us again of your rationale. Let me say again. Okay, we don't want to. I don't want to actually act as if we're trying to do a bad thing here. What do you think? I said I would ask Lo Wai Kok, from the engineering construction sector to help you. You said that well, it's difficult architecturally speaking to add one more floor to the building, but how difficult it will be and how much more money it will cost, you can work out the amount. Are there any members from the Kowloon West constituency? Or they're all gone? Electrical member from Kowloon West? Well, the project is in their district. Maybe electrical member from the Kowloon West constituency thinks I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'd rather be like that than I don't want to be a villain. Are you sure that you can come back and answer the questions at the Finance Committee next week? If so, then I will call on members to support my motion. Any other members who want to speak? If not, then administration of Fernando Zhang. As for the motion moved by Leung Kwok-hong, I think there's a difficulty here. Long hair asked the same as what many other members have asked for. We hope to see that the administration, when building similar facilities, can try to provide for a maximum amount of space so that there can be adequate space for more services. Now, we can see that there's a disastrous situation here because the services to be provided there will be hugely inadequate. Social Welfare Department colleagues, told us that there will be services for special educational needs. Whether they go to those who go to the center would have even more severe learning problems. That's why they'll be transferred to the proposed center. And there will also be children who will require various sections of services each week and who are on long waiting list, as we pointed out. The waiting list for this center alone is more than 2 years. That's the waiting time. So I agree with Longhair's view that, and we've reiterated either at the House Committee or PWSC meeting, that we have kept reiterating the same view, that we hope the administration can design facilities that have the best use of space so that there can be more places made available and the waiting time can be shortened. If we delay on this project again one more time, then I don't see how the government can within a week revise the entire design. So my stand is I can't really support Longhair's motion of asking for a delay on voting on this item. No matter what, we always agree with an early completion of a project. But when you submitted the design to us, you knew that the plot ratio wasn't used up, and you did not actively fight for more. And now when the time came, you impose constraints on the entire design. Just then, Ms. Yong admitted that when designing for the project, you only thought about this is reprovisioning. Reprovisioning meaning you didn't think about how to increase the capacity at the site, that you could have made or totally used up the maximum plot ratio allowed for. So we are caught in a bind now. But I don't intend to delay further. Wu Chi-wai, next. Chairman, at the previous meetings on discussion on social services and the fact that the government had not fully utilized the space available, despite the acute shortage of services and a strong need for services. I think not just for this pectin project. At the PWSC meeting on Wednesday, we talked about a transport interchange in Pingshan, a very sizable plot. You were only suggesting some site-level work without building one additional floor or 2 additional floors of social welfare facilities. I understand what Longhair was thinking, and we've all along also criticized the administration for not actually addressing properly, adequately, the vast demand for social services in Hong Kong. But things have remained unchanged. I think for the Social Welfare Department, you failed. When the time for planning came up, you failed to take into consideration the need for various types of services. So I'm very strongly dissatisfied with that, and I would actually condemn your department for not actually living up to your responsibility. Now there's this chance of creating a hardware. You didn't make good use of it. Well, I understand that giving them, the administration, 1 more week would not probably change the whole situation. So I don't want to cause any further delay to the project. But I think the administration, particularly the Social Welfare Department, you are faced with the vast needs there in the society. So what plan have you got to accommodate those needs? Or is it that if the government doesn't give you the resources, then you dare not fight for more, or try to get more lands and resources to provide social services? If that's the case, then I think that's a problem with the entire government policy, and we need to face up to that. We've heard too much in the past, from the Social Welfare Department, about this issue of inadequate land supply. But the fact is, when there's land available, you didn't fight for a maximum use of a site. I think this, to me, is like a negligence on the part of the Social Welfare Department. Next one, Chen Chi-chun. I support Longhair's motion. Just then, many members have said next time when they come back here again, Well, now you think this is a project that is only given 30 marks. I don't think next week we'll get 90 marks. So next week there'll be another finance committee meeting.
Why I support this motion? Because I think there's a problem with the thinking of the bureaucrats. They just get things done, but they are not trying to do their best. So they are thinking along the line of reprovisioning, 50 for 50, 100 for 100 places. So how come that you are not gauging the collective wisdom of various government departments and do the best job? I would be supporting Mr. Leung Kwok Hung's motion, and I want to teach them a lesson this time. So I urge members to support Mr. Leung Kwok Hung's motion. Any other member wishing to speak? If not, then any response from the administration? Mr. Fong, you raised your hand. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, member, for your questions. Many members have mentioned about preschool services inadequacies. Some 6,000 children are waiting, but the government has already formulated short, medium, and long-term measures to deal with the problem. In the current term of government, we have promised to provide 1,471 places in the next few years. There is also a special scheme for use of welfare sites, and we have received 63 applications and 3,842 places for preschool services. So the land that we have obtained so far should be able to meet with those on the waiting list. Of course, some time may be lost, I admit that, but in the long term, I think we should be able to deal with the shortage problem. And this year, we will launch a pilot scheme for preschool services. The SCC service will conduct or provide such services on site at the campus. And then if that plan is launched, then we will have to review whether we still need to provide that many places. Also, in respect of planning, the SWD has made use of every opportunity to strike for land to provide services. Take Shamshepo as an example. We've got 30 items, 17 rehab projects, and 5 of them have to do with preschool education. 420 places will be provided. 30 items, 7 elderly, 3 family services, 1 adolescent services. So we've been very proactive to identify land to provide services. Of course, we'll have to be mindful of the constraints of the different services. Mr. Leung Kwok Hung, you have 1 minute to respond. Well, I got infuriated the more I heard from the government officials. You said that it's okay if the plot ratio is not changed. You've got enough places. You are just being ignorant. We will be able to meet with our quota. Wow. There is nothing more I can say. Well, we just butt in. We have no other option. We've raised the same points at the PWSC. At one occasion, there was a project about a community hall incorporating a library. And it's just 1 meter or even 1 foot away from the residential buildings. And we said that's not possible. And then they made changes, and the distance was widened to 3 feet. So I'll now put the item to a vote. Mr. Leung, you are finished with your 1 minute. The FC will decide on the discussions of PWSC bracket 2014-50. I'm now working. Mr. Leung, please stop speaking. I'm now put the item to a vote. The FC decides to adjourn the discussion of the item on PWSC 2014-15-38. Those who are in favor, please raise your hand. We now claim a division, and the division bout will rate for 5 minutes. You are, in fact, filibustering, or else you will not claim a division.
我見你咁想講嘢，我等你俾啲機會你可以講下嘢。
I'll give you some more opportunities to speak.
你民政事務處嗰啲嚟係咪喺出邊等啊？ 現在開始表決。
Voting now begins. Before I declare the voting results, please check your votes. Voting stops. Display of voting results: 3 for, 39 against. I declare the motion negative. Any other member wishing to speak? If not, Mr. Yip Kin Yuen, first round. Chairman, I'm from the education sector. I would like to say something. This is a difficult decision for us. We have a lot of struggles. Psychologically, we want to shorten the waiting time. But this is like an fait accompli for us, and we are left with the option of either to accept or reject the proposal. I hope that we can avoid similar situations in the future. I think there have been problems during the process. In the consultation process, is it the fact that major stakeholders didn't have the chance to give their views? Are there any missing parts? Is there a problem with the coordination among the government departments? I think after today, the government officials can make some reflections. I think we have to accept the results today. I hope that this won't happen again in the future. You don't need the government officials to respond to you, right? Mr. Lam Kwok Hong, fourth round, 1 minute. Please don't side talk. Thank you for your instructions. Well, the colleagues are unreasonable in their remarks. I'm just asking for a postponement for 1 week. You said that you can make changes within 1 year. Is this really possible? If yes, please say yes to us next time when you come. We want to have an additional ratio of 1.5, plot ratio of, and then more, 7,500 square meters more. And I think that should be a good option. I think if the government points your mind to anything, then everything can be done. You can expedite the construction works. My mom asked me to do the grocery. If I missed out doing something, then I have to redo it. Any other member wishing to speak? If not, then I will put the agenda item to a vote. Those in favor of FCR 2014-1538, please raise your hand. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong claims the division. The division bell will ring for 5 minutes.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Before I declare the voting results, please check your vote. Voting closes. Display of voting results. 42 for, 1 against, 1 abstention. I declare that the recommendation or the proposal be endorsed. Separate voting, second item is PWSC 2014-15 42. This is to recommend to the Finance Committee the upgrading of 273 RS to Category A at an estimated cost of $639.7 million in money of the day prices. To answer members' questions, joining us from the government are Ms. Linda Law, Principal BAS for Home Affairs, Mr. Leung Kun Kei, Director of Architectural Services, Mrs. Alice Yu, Project Director ASD from the LCSD, Assistant Director, Mr. Donald Choi, and Chief Executive Officer Planning 2 from LCSD, Ms. Shirley Chung. Any member wishing to ask a question, please press your button. If not, then I'll put this item to a vote. Those who support the proposal in PWSC 2014-15 42, please raise your hand. Those who are against it, please raise your hand. I believe that the majority of the voting members support the proposal, and this item is passed. The third item has to do with the PWSC 2014-15 43 paper, and this is about the upgrading of part of 3AADS entitled Shak Wu Hoi Sewage Treatment Works for the Expansion Phase 1A, Advanced Works, Consultants Fees and Investigation to Category A at an estimated cost of $502.7 million in money of the day prices. To answer members' questions, joining us are the following government officials: Ms. Amy Yun, Yin, Assistant Director of Environmental Protection Water Policy;
Mr. Daniel Chung, Director of Drainage Services, and Mr. Ken Hon Sing, Acting Chief Engineer of Drainage Services Department. Does any member would like to ask questions? If so, please press your button. If members have no other questions, I now put the proposal to vote. Will those members in favor of the proposal please raise their hands? For those who are against, please raise their hands. I think a majority of the members voting are in favor of the proposal. The proposal is approved. And the fourth item that has to be voted on individually is paper number 51. It is about the retrofitting of noise barriers on Tuen Mun Road. The project number is 810TH, and it is recommended to upgrade it to Category A at an estimated cost of $826.5 million in money of the day prices. Now we have following government officials to answer members' questions. Mr. Tan Kin Fei, Assistant Director of Environmental Protection; Mr. Morris Young, Principal Environmental Protection Officer; Mr. Jimmy Chen, Project Manager, Highways Department; and Mr. Anthony Low, Chief Engineer of Highways Department. Dr. Helena Wong. 5 minutes. Chairman. The Democratic Party supports that noise barriers be retrofitted on Tuen Mun Road. However, at the PWSC meeting, we asked some questions. In particular, we are concerned about that near the Tamilai Fund Secondary School, or the Church of Christ in China Family Life and Memorial Secondary School, the cover is just a semi-enclosure. So pollution and noise emitted from Tuen Mun Road will be received by the school. So does the government have any new plans for this? Mr. Tang, are you going to answer this question? Or Mr. Yang? Yes, I will answer this question. Yes, Mr. Yang. Well, for members' questions asked at the PWSC meeting, we have provided answers in our latest paper. As for the semi-enclosure, according to our assessment, the noise received by the school will be allayed a bit. Now the school itself has installed insulation windows and air conditioning. So now the school is better protected from noise pollution. As for the noise barriers, it will give further protection to the school. So 1 or 2 decibels of noise will be lowered in different parts of the schools. As for the semi-enclosure, it will also improve the air quality in the vicinity, in particular those more low-lying areas. So for the proposed semi-enclosure, it will not worsen the air quality in the school. We have already provided this information in the supplementary paper. Now for paragraph 5, you say that if a full closure is to be installed, then you would have to close off the roads and the traffic may be undermined, etc. So for parts of the Tuen Mun Road, for example, near Eldo Court, you use a full enclosure. So this argument would equally be applicable there. So I would like to ask, how come near Eldo Court you are using a full enclosure and traffic would not be affected? However, when it comes to the area next to the school, you cannot use a full enclosure. Yes, on the other side, there is a full enclosure, but we have already calculated the time for construction, and that part of the road will have to be closed off for a foundation construction. And if the section in front of the school has to be installed with a full enclosure, then there will be a problem, because then 2 sections of the road would have to be closed off. Now, originally, the part in front of the school doesn't need a foundation, but if a full enclosure is to be built, a foundation has to be constructed. So the road would have to be closed off for a certain time. If the 2 sections of the road cannot be closed off at the same time, then they would have to be done at different time. And it will take a much longer time to build both the noise barriers. So it means that technically it's not impossible. You can do it, but you want to do it faster. So that's why you do not want to do that in front of the school, right? Yes, because it would require a longer construction time, and another section of foundation will have to be built, so the construction cost will be much higher than the present one. Mr. Ip Kin Yun? Sorry, Mr. Lang Guok Hong raised his hand before you. Chairman, you are so fair. Now you have talked to the secondary school, and double-glazed windows have been installed. I would like to ask a simple question. Are they saying that they are totally satisfied now? You can use a semi-enclosure? Or they are saying that, well, it's useless to oppose, so you can have your semi-enclosure. So it's the same as the Finance Committee. Sometimes we just have to give up. So what's the school's opinion? Mr. Chen? When this project was gazetted, we received some objections. That also included an objection from the school. And some members of the school still maintain their objection. But we want to point out that after constructing the noise barrier, well, actually there are 1,800 households living in the vicinity, so the noise barrier will help them a lot. The noise level can be reduced by 1 to 25 decibels. So we have been authorized to proceed with the project. I don't understand. So Tamli Life and Memorial Secondary School hasn't changed its mind. It still objects to the project. We've received some objections. Some of the objections have been withdrawn and some of the objections have been maintained. So you are saying that it is not infeasible. You can actually do it. You just choose not to do it, right? Because if you choose to do it, then you have to close off the roads for a longer time, right? Mr. Chen? Yes, the construction time will be longer and the cost will be higher. And also the school has been installed with double-glazed windows and air conditioning. So now its noise level is lowered and the school can operate smoothly. But at the PWSC meeting, members asked whether windows can be opened during lessons. But if you want to do that, we need other means to lower the noise level. Well, if a noise barrier is built here, the windows of the school cannot be opened during classes because the noise doesn't only come from Tin Mun Road. There is a Cheng Tin interchange in the vicinity. So noise comes from both sources. So even though a full enclosure is built here, the noise level cannot be lowered to a level at which the school can open its windows during classes. So there's not only noise problem, there's also air pollution. So I want to know one thing. What's the view of Tamli Lai Fan Memorial Secondary School? You haven't told me in details. Are they saying that now you are providing me with this facility, I'm very happy? Is that their view? You don't need to give me detailed explanation, Mr. Chen. I think I can say it once again. For Tamli Lai Fan Memorial Secondary School, it raised some objections, but some of the objections were withdrawn and some of the objections were maintained. So I cannot give you an answer. That is whether the school says yes or no. Of course, for the objections that have been withdrawn, of course they are gone, but there are still existing objections, right? Yes, some maintain their objections. So can you tell me why you have not satisfied the requests? We have installed double-glazed windows for the school, and air conditioners have also been installed. So there were some insulation measures, and now lessons can be carried out in a quieter environment. So that's why we think that we do not need a full enclosure here. Okay, next, Mr. Ip Kim Yuen, 5 minutes. Just now, the government official has explained that is the school does not need full enclosure because double-glazed windows and air conditioning have been installed and the problem has been resolved. But I would like to ask you this. Well, maybe this is too imaginative. So what if you totally have no noise barrier there? And what if all the buildings there are installed with double-glazed windows and air conditioning? Would the cost be even lower? Would it be even more cost-effective? You mentioned that there is a Chengyi interchange nearby, so noise will also come from there. So now you're just installing noise barriers along Tuen Mun Road, so there will still be noise problem. So would my suggestion be more cost-effective, and can the problem be resolved in this manner? Mr. Yang? Well, for schools, they have their own noise insulation measures. As for buildings affected by existing roads, we hope that we can tackle the problem at source. So for the existing policy, we would first try to install noise barriers so as to protect buildings from noise pollution. Now, if double-glazed windows and air conditioning are to be provided to private residential buildings, there is a problem because these are private buildings, and each household may have different requirements. So we think that we should tackle the problem at source, that is the road. So, and that is also what the present policy is like. So if it's not a private building, if it's a PRH estate, would my suggestion be more cost-effective? Now for PRH, the housing department has always been thinking about this. That is, for example, for new estates that are being planned, if they would be affected by noise, we would try to improve the design of the blocks. And if noise pollution cannot be avoided, then we would try to find out if the orientation or the windows of the blocks can be changed. This is about new PRH estates. But for old buildings, if you want to tackle this problem, then there will be more difficulties. Mr. Ip Kim Yuen, I think my question is very clear. For the residential buildings and the schools, you are adopting different measures. And now the school already has double-glazed windows and air conditioning, so you think that it doesn't need a noise barrier. If this is an established policy, then Tamli Life and Memorial Secondary School will not be the only school affected. In the future, other similar schools will also be affected in this way. So policy-wise, I want to know whether this is reasonable for schools. You have to convince us that this is a good practice. And you are not forcing the school to tolerate a less than ideal situation. Mr. Yang? Well, we we care a lot about the noise problems in schools. So we want to come up with feasible and fast methods. For existing schools, if they are affected by road noise, well, actually, at the end of 80s and in the early 90s, we have already adopted plans to help schools tackle their noise problems. We have helped hundreds of schools to do this. That is for old schools. At a very early stage, they have already been installed with noise insulation devices so that classes can be carried out. So old problems have been resolved. For new schools, we will talk to the designers. We hope that the schools' locations will not be affected by serious noise pollution. Otherwise, we will try to make improvement in terms of design. And if eventually there's no way out, we would install air conditioning and noise insulation windows for schools. So for old schools, we have already solved the problem. With regard to new schools, we hope that we can do a better planning so that the problem would not arise. But eventually, if there is still noise pollution, we would install noise insulators and air conditioning for them. Mr. Albert Ho, 5 minutes. I understand Mr. Yip's concern. I think the government should review its policy. Now, if schools are right next to noisy roads, can solutions be provided so that we don't need to build noise barriers? Anyway, we would support this project because for the residents in this area, they have been waiting for this for a long time. But I support Mr. Ip Kim Yuen. The government should go back and review this policy because it will affect the whole of Hong Kong. So can the government do that? Mr. Yang? Thank you, Chairman. As I said just now, old schools problems have already been solved. And for new schools, we have to follow the Hong Kong planning standards and guidelines. So we will be talking to the planning department as well as the education bureau when it comes to choosing locations for schools, and we will try our best to solve their noise problems. I think this is an effective way of solving noise problems for new schools.
Okay, I'll follow up on at the panel. One big one, first round. I think, okay, Ip Kim Yun's first, yes. 3 minutes, second round. Okay, Chairman, just Mr. Yang mentioned about the present policy. And he said that new school would be looked after, but still there are lots of old schools. And Mr. Yang also made the point about the present policy, and indeed it's very clear that teachers and students at the memorial school still face the same problem. Well, there will be less objection if the problem has been resolved. So until the teachers and students feel differently. But I believe now that there are hundreds of oppositions, then I don't think it's just a matter of personal subjective feel. I think the issue is still there. And it is an issue that has not been resolved under present policy. So my request is very simple. Can you reassess the policy? For this works at this stage? I mean, at this stage, we can't put a halt to this works. No matter how much reservation opposition we've got, but we'll still support it. But the problem is there is still this problem that has yet to be resolved. So you need to look at your standards or the existing policy again. You know, for schools with double glazed windows and air conditioning, and yet these schools still face the same problem. So you need to adopt a more ultimate policy to help these schools. Are there any ways, things you can do? Maybe this is not something that we can resolve at this meeting, but I hope of course we can come up with an answer. But if not, hopefully after the meeting, you can actually carry out some in-depth look at the existing policy and standards. Yes. Thank you, Chairman. I think for old schools that actually have resolved the problems through existing policies, that is, for example, by creating the environment a better environment in the classrooms. I think our plan has been finished. In the 1990s, it was finished, and more than 600 schools have used the same way to tackle the problem. The result that we've known so far is that it's been quite favorable. When we first began the plan, it actually came up after discussions, communication with schools and teachers. So it's a way to ensure, well, I think you can finish this policy. Then this is a question about an entire policy. I hope that you can really put this issue back to the panel. Now today we're focusing on the words, not a broad policy. Otherwise we'll actually deviate from the key topic. Okay, Wong Pik Wen. So I think in paragraph 8 of the supplementary document, you said that the main source of pollution from the vehicles are particulates and other chemicals. But facing the school, there are no enclosures, not even semi-enclosures. So schools have lower floors. Now you said, oh, they have double glazed windows, so therefore students will not be affected by the pollutants. But students will not only be in a room, enclosed room, they will go to the playground. So the particulates and also the polluting chemicals, such as the nitrogen dioxide or RSP, they will still affect their health. So what can you do? So Mr. Young, I think based on members' questions raised at the PWSC, we did prepare some assessment and done by our colleagues responsible for the air quality. I think for schools with the semi-enclosures, not much impact has been made. For the playground, for example, well, the air quality has increased or improved mildly. On the whole, because the wind blows from the north and the north-south, so outside the enclosures, the air quality might be worse. But for the schools itself, there hasn't been a big negative impact on the school. So as for the barriers, the impact of the barriers for the schools or noise, in terms of noise, there isn't any negative impact on them. Are you talking about wind coming from the north or south? What is the wind directions throughout the 4 seasons? Well, the route is a north-south route, so the vehicles go on the north-south route. So the pollutants will be subject to a suction effect. So they will tend to be concentrated more on the actually the outside, right outside the barriers. But the route is north-south. But what about the direction of the wind? The wind direction comes from mainly the north and the south. So northerly and southerly winds normally. Mainly. Okay, any other members who want to speak? One pick one, third round, 2 minutes. Chairman, my view is that I think the policy is problematic in itself. Well, you can go back to the panel to discuss the issues about the policy. Yes, I don't want to dwell on it, but I do hope that the government can review again. If in the future you are to create barriers on main roads, you should not exclude schools from your consideration. You should not just focus on residential units, because residential flats and schools should be treated in the same way. So I'd like to ask the Environment Department and the Harvest Department, can you promise to do a review of that practice? You are talking about a future policy review. Okay, if you're talking about future policy review, please discuss it at the panel. Can you let them answer? No, I can't let them answer because I haven't got much time left. I can't let you deviate from the topic. Well, we haven't got much time left for the committee, for this committee. You are not asking questions related to the item for this committee. You are talking about broad policy issues which are not related to the topic here. So as a chairman, I can tell you that I will not let you ask that question. It's not just a matter of time. So other members, any questions? If not, then I will put this item to a vote. What's the matter? Okay. Please press the button if you have a question. Helena Wong, fourth round, 1 minute. Okay, if we can't discuss policies, then can we continue to discuss the issue facing the school? I think it wasn't made clear earlier on, when under what kind of wind will the air pollution at the school be worsened? Well, just then he said that there's no. Well, he said that the direction, depending on where the wind blows, but the effect will be strongest right outside the barrier, the entrance of the barrier. Can the administration explain why the impact on the school is minimal? Well, as I said, Mr. Young, as I said, based on our assessment, the semi-enclosure, and also depending on the direction or the location of the road and the flow of vehicles, well, there isn't any negative impact on the school. But you still haven't explained why there isn't any negative impact. Well, he said that depending on the direction cars are going, and if the wind is coming from the north and south, then that it's what you can expect. So he's talking about the wind direction is from the north and south. If you don't believe that, you can try to make other suggestions and come up with other results from other assessments. I don't know. I'm just trying to chair the meeting. Do you have any other questions? Okay, Helena Wong, fifth round, 1 minute. Well, this is a north-south route. The barrier is in the east on the right-hand side. So will the wind blow from the east or east-south in Hong Kong? If that happens, then the exhaust from the car, would that be blown towards the school? Mr. Yang, I think it really depends on the situation. As I said, I was just trying to tell you the result of our own assessment. Okay, simply put, the assessment actually did look into all possible scenarios, and the outcome of the assessment or the conclusion is that the school, in terms of air pollution, will not be negatively affected. It does actually show that there is improvement in noise nuisance. Any members who want to speak? Any other members who want to speak? If not, then I will put this item to a vote. Those in favor of PWSC bracket 21-4-51, please raise your hands. Those who are against, please raise your hands. I rule that the members who took part in the vote supported this proposal. So this proposal was approved. So now we're going to handle PWSC 2014-1549. This paper proposes the project on sewage and sewage treatment in Two Moon Sewage Stage 1 and the upgrading of Two Moon Sewage Phase 1 and to upgrade part of both projects to be upgraded to Category A. And also the Castle Peak Road Trunk Sewer and Twin Moon Village Sewerage be also upgraded to Category A at an estimated cost of $722.5 million in money of the day prices. And to answer members' questions, the following officials are present. Assistant Director of Environmental Protection Water Policy, Ms. Amy Yun, Director of Drainage Services, Mr. Daniel Chung, and Chief Engineer from the Drainage Services Department, Mr. Tai Wai Man, are here. So any members? So I couldn't hear you. Well, we don't have a quorum now. Please help.
希望葉建源議員，我講錯名嗎？
葉建源 I think I meant 葉建源。
你哋要原諒啲老人家。
Please excuse me, I'm getting old. I'm getting old, I can't hear things very well. So after 4 hours, a meeting of 4 hours, we're still here. Okay, members. Any members who want to ask questions? Chen Chi-chun, 5 minutes. We'll follow up on sewerage in villages. At the PWSC meeting, Albert Chen raised this issue as well, and the government came back with 20 pages of maps, more than 10 pages of maps in the enclosure. But Albert Chen really wanted to know this connected systems, the usage of this connected systems. Just that the government gave a percentage of 80%. That sometimes the sewage need to be connected to individual households. The last time the government said the usage rate was 80%. So Albert Chen wanted to see or to know about the utilization rate in each village. The map doesn't show the breakdown, but even not, can you answer us the maximum and the minimum connection rate in the table 1 is the past, and the past another table is in the continuous, and there's another table which is in the future. So Albert Chen was saying that the government should consider connecting these systems to all the households so that the usage rate will be 100%. That's his view. But if not, if the systems are not all connected, then the cost effectiveness will be lowered. So would you consider paying for the connection of all the systems to all households? And what methods do you have to encourage the villagers to use the system, or to force them, or even to penalize them to make them use it? Because I know the earlier system was done in 2011. The last 2 years also saw some connections. So what's the latest? Anyone who wants to answer? Ms. Yun? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think at the PWSC, they had meetings to discuss it on February 10 and February 28. And on the February 10 meeting, Albert Chen asked us to provide data on the connection or the connection rate of village sewerage. And we did come back with a reply. In Sha Tin, Taipo, you can see the data. And we also found that the projects that were begun earlier had a completion rate of 90% odd percent or 80%. In some other areas, the connectivity is still underway. On February 28th, at the meeting then, we said that we also talk about how we're going to encourage more connectivity. We did say that with the arrangement for the project, the government will be responsible for the trunk sewers, and we will try to make it easy for villagers to connect to the sewer. In many villages, sometimes the sewer is right outside of the door. So, of course, the government sewers will be in public land, but in the private lands, the villagers will need to make sure that or do it themselves to connect the sewers. So, I think in areas with 90 to 80% of connectivity rate, the government would actually indeed in the public land provide the sewage system, and while the flat owners would provide a connection in the private area. So it would be his responsibility to do it in the private area. So far, we've seen that such arrangement has been effective, and we should continue to do it that way. As for encouraging people to connect the sewers with ours, I think in our design, indeed, we try to communicate with the villagers as soon as possible. If we try to do this so as to make it easier for the connectivity to happen. And under the Housing Authority, there's also a subsidy scheme for households with financial difficulties, especially elderly people or elderly residents who can ask for or apply for subsidy to get the connectivity done. There's also this some sort of legal requirements, for people to do the connectivity, but we need to remind them and give them a time frame, for example, 6 months to get the connection done. We will liaise with the owners. If there's land issue involved, we'll try to help resolve it for them as best as we can. Chen Chi-chun, second round, 3 minutes. Yes, just now I heard from the administration that the connectivity rate really depends on when the project commenced. The 80%, 90% rate happened in areas where the project began earlier. But I can't tell from the figures whether there are cases where some people didn't really bother to have the sewers connected. So do you have any indicators or data to tell us, for example, when the system is put in front of their household, and how long when they haven't done it? So in what time frame would you actually, do you have a figure on when the connectivity has yet happened?
As I said, there are villages which have been connected on the 25th of February. We've provided information on the connection rate in Sha Tin. The public sewer system started relatively early. There are a number of villages which have been connected. 94% in Sha Tin, almost the highest among all districts. Jinmun? Well, this is exactly the proposal that we are discussing today. Relatively fewer villages are connected, and the works are ongoing, 38% in Jinmun. We will discuss with the village house owners to see how works can be taken forward. And normally, it will take 6 months to 1 year, and sometimes there may be problems, issues may be complicated, and may take longer. 38%, does it refer to the completion rate, or is it because that you've just completed the sewage works and the villagers haven't yet connected their systems to yours? So is there a certain deadline that you go by? Say, after 1 year, if the villagers don't connect to your system, then you would consider that them not willing to connect to your system. So have you done anything to force, so to speak, the villagers to connect to your system? Yes, we are empowered under the law to do that, but we want them to take their own initiative to connect to the system. We want to do it by communication. Is there a deadline? I mentioned half a year to 1 year, then that's normally the time taken. And in some cases, some villages will do it later. Some villages may take a longer period to connect to the system. Now in Sha-Tin, 94%, as I said. Sorry, the speaker's not coming through. Sorry, the speaker's not coming through. Sorry, the speaker's not coming through. Ms. Yin. As I said, districts differ in their own situations. 34% Sha-Tin Taipo, 90%, Shai Kung, 80%, Chunwan, 91%, Islands, 80%, North, and Yunlong, 77%. Tuen Mun is because the progress of works is only 38%. We are still doing the works, the connection work. So we expect the rate will go up. Mr. Raymond Chan. Third round, 2 minutes, please. If the connection rate persists to be very low, would you consider do the connection for them? Tuen Mun, 38%. For other districts, we achieve a rate of over 80 or 90%. So once the public sewerage systems are completed, the individual houses will connect their systems to ours. And so what the government is doing is we are responsible for building the public sewage, and the landlords will do their own connection to their houses. That's a fair arrangement. I think the landlords can also benefit through such connection. I'm not forcing you to subsidize them in connecting to the public sewage. Can you give me, say, a time frame, say 1 year or 1.5 years? If the connection rate remains low, can you penalize them or force them to do the connection? So are you asking, would the government invoke the law to force the landlords to make the connection? Well, it depends. What we want to do is to improve the environment by having this public sewage system. If the landlord doesn't make the connection and is creating pollution, then we'll do something. We'll look at the individual cases. How come that the rate is so low in Tuen Mun while other districts are faring so well? What's the problem in Tuen Mun? For projects completed, well, Tuen Mun is just 38%. For other districts, it's 80 or 90 odd %. So the problem, there's a problem with Tuen Mun. Why? Because the public sewers and connections works are still ongoing. Now, after that has been completed, how high will it rise? Will it be 90%? If that is the case, then Mr. Raymond Chan will not be asking you to force people to make the connection. So after the completion of works, what do you expect to be the rate? At the PWSC meeting, we expect the rate to go up to 75% based on the information we have on hand. The rates may rise even further as we complete the various works. Yes, higher than 75%, right? Yes. Fourth round, 1 minute. You said that some districts are having an 80% rate. 20% of the houses are not making the connection. Do you have any data on why they do not make the connection? Would you be doing something, or would you wait till they do the connection themselves? Ms. Yun. Maybe it has to do with the land issues. There are many landlords, or maybe they want to redevelop the village houses, and they will postpone the connection works. And maybe some village houses have yet to be built. We will still provide for a connection point for the future village houses to be built. So far, from what I've heard, you would rather wait till they make their own connections. You will not invoke the law to do it. Well, are you not satisfied with the 75% after the public sewer is done? Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, we have to end our meeting by 7:10 p.m. How many rounds of questions do you plan to ask? Perhaps I will have you ask questions in the next meeting. Do you want to do it in the next meeting? So you can still ask your question in the next 3 minutes. You mentioned about a rate of 75%. How come that Tuen Mun's figure is particularly low? Why? You are asking for funding for Tuen Mun. It's because that you haven't completed the trunk sewers and households are not making the connection. Yes, she has already answered your question just now, but it's just that you were not here. Ms. Yun, so please reply ASAP. All right, we've got just a quorum, 1, 2, 3. If I buy a pair of shoes and I don't buy the shoelaces, or the shop owner, the salesperson, doesn't give me the shoelaces, what's the point of buying a pair of shoes? This doesn't happen today for in cases like Shamshay Wan, the strategic storage, and the people were not willing to connect to the public sewer. I don't know what your policy is. Would you invoke the law to force people to make the connection? Or you would make the connection on their behalf? What will happen to the repair and maintenance works? Now you're spending so much money on this project and people are still not making the connection. This is what we told the members on the 25th of February. And today, we are updating you on the progress of works in Tuen Mun at 3 locations, Tuen Chun Circuit, Tuen Chi Circuit. The works were completed in June and October 2014, and because the sewers were just completed, as we said, people are still making the connections. So at this stage, the connection rate is relatively low compared to other districts where the works were carried out earlier. And normally, as I said, people would get connected in, say, 6 months or a year's time. So we expect the connection rate in Tuen Mun will climb steadily, and it will not deviate too much from the rates in other districts. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, you said that based on experience, once the public sewer is built, people will get connected to the public sewer in a year's time. I would like to ask you, what better measures can you have for dealing with the problem in Tuen Mun? Ms. Yun, we consult the public from the very start of the project. We try to ensure that the design of the sewer will facilitate people's connection, and later we would also be talking to the landlords to help them out with the connection work. So we want to do it in this approach, i.e. to encourage them to do the connection with the public sewer. If some people have financial difficulties under the HA and also the building department, there are subsidy programs to help them out. If there are land issues involved in the connection process, then our colleagues will also be happy to help them out with resolving the issues. Now, if the landlords are uncooperative and they are creating pollution, then we can take our prosecution action under our law. So these are the approaches that we are adopting. In Sha-Tin, for example, when the works for areas where works were completed in the 90s, the connection rate can reach as high as 90%, over 90%. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, you know that exactly who will be using the service. Have you conducted any survey asking people whether they are willing to make the connection? If they said they don't want to make the connection, what are the reasons? Have you conducted posts like those? Members have asked a similar question before. The sewerage works started from the 90s, and we covered a lot of areas. We didn't have records on why individual households were not willing to make the connection to the public system. We don't have information like that. But if we look at the overall picture, the connection rate is quite good. Sorry, the speaker is not coming through. Mr. Leung, do you still have questions? If you want to ask questions, well, please line up again. I think we've gone over time, so I'll declare the meeting adjourned. The special meeting for vetting the budget will be held from the 27th of March to the 2nd of April. Thank you.